This is the third time that we've scheduled this event. Third time is a charm, I hope. But we do want to keep in our prayers my good friend and our good friend, our Congressman Steve Scalise, who was returned to ICU today. So I want to just ask everybody for a moment of silence on his behalf. We love him and we lift him up with our prayers. So I want to thank all of you for coming. 7 years ago, when I gave my first State of the City address, we called that speech Eyes Wide Open. The basic message was that we inherited a mess and we needed to change course. They were uncertain. They were chaotic times. We had a $97 million deficit. It threatened to put our city into bankruptcy. Our police department was already broke. It was dysfunctional. The recovery across the city was stalled. So many of our schools, our hospitals, our grocery stores, our community centers, our parks, our playgrounds, our public housing, it wasn't back yet. We led the nation in blighted property and FEMA trailers. If you can believe it, still dotted the city. The federal government had taken over the housing authority and the state had taken over our schools. And although there was so much to do in 2010, City Hall was still only open 4 days a week, and the red tape was choking us to death. The Department of Justice with the FBI zeroed in on both City Hall corruption and police misconduct. The BP oil spill was a dagger to the heart of our land, to our food, to our business, to our jobs. And all the while, our working people suffered the terrible effects of the Great Recession along with the rest of America. It was a mess of epic proportions. But just when everything seemed lost, the people of New Orleans stepped up, and with one voice, they demanded unity. They demanded action. They demanded reform. They demanded results. We said it, one team, one fight, one voice, one city, just one step at a time. This is not just a slogan anymore. It has become a state of being for us. To be strong in an uncertain world, we know that for all things, everybody needs to be all in. Our strength is in our unity. Our strength is in our diversity. Our strength is in our culture. E pluribus unum. Out of many, we are one. And we are better for it. That is the new New Orleans way. All in, everybody together. Sharing opportunity, sharing responsibility. Federal, state, and local government at the table. Private sector, not-for-profits, faith-based organizations at the table. Citizens at the table. Hand in hand, we run towards the fire, seeking out solutions to our city's entrenched issues, standing tall in the face of the storm, doing what is difficult for the sake of doing what is right. But there is no one that said that this was going to be easy. It is hard to fix a broken city and a broken spirit. It is hard to go from the top of the bad list to the top of the good list. It is hard to stay focused on the future, making tough decisions today so that the next mayor and the next city council can have the benefit of choosing between good, better, and best, and not between bad and worse. So in this final year of office, we will cement together a strong foundation that we have built for the future, while also staying focused on the challenges that continue to hold us back. We will finish strong. In 7 years, we have righted the ship of government, going from a budget deficit to a budget surplus and the highest credit rating in city history. In 7 years, we have also led the fight against corruption, opening the doors of opportunity for everyone by completely reforming our city's contracting process. Here is the goal: a level playing field for contracts so that now it is about what you know. It is not now about who you know. At the same time, in the last 7 years, we reformed civil service so that City Hall is open, welcome, and works for all of you, the people of New Orleans. And to become a better place to work, we increased the minimum wage to $10.55 per hour and paid family leave to all of our employees. We're also building the best recreation department in America. We've turned North around by nearly tripling the funding for recreation programs. We're investing $150 million in new community centers, pools, gyms, and playgrounds. Because we've done so well, for the first time, NORD is on track to become a nationally accredited organization, which will be a huge milestone for the city of New Orleans. At the same time, we're investing $2 billion to rebuild or renovate every school in the city, and for the first time since Hurricane Katrina, our schools will be back under local control. Our teachers, our principals, our students, they're all doing great work. Graduation rates are way up, dropout rates are way down, the achievement gap has closed, more kids are going to college, and for those kids that are not going to college, we're working to connect them to jobs. It's all about setting our kids up for success and ensuring opportunity for them, both as children and as adults. For too long, our young people, after finishing school, had nowhere else to go for opportunities and jobs. Today, the unemployment rate has been nearly cut in half from its peak in 2010. In over 7 years, our more vibrant economy has created 20,000 new jobs, and we have opened up 140 new retail businesses in the city of New Orleans. And if you don't believe me, you can see me at Costco this Sunday. But here's the thing. We're not only growing jobs in hospitality and in the retail sector. We're creating jobs for the future. The NOLA Business Alliance, which we helped start, is helping build new industries like biomedical, digital, and water management. And the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, which we brought here, has helped more than 500 of our small business owners in New Orleans, which represent over $500 million in revenue and supports more than 8,000 jobs across the region. At the same time, 675 new DBEs have been certified to get tens of millions of dollars in city work. And finally, our workforce development program, Strive, in partnership with the Surgeon Water Board and Delgado, have trained hundreds of residents and are putting folks back to work. That way, when you see your street getting dug up, you know it's one of our own doing the work. We want the people of New Orleans to be the ones who rebuild New Orleans, and everybody should share in the opportunity and likewise the responsibility. That is why our team focused on equity and is instituting an equity lens in our entire budgeting process. That is why we're investing in new bus lines and in new streetcars, and that is why we're investing in affordable housing. All told, by 2018, we have had a relentless focus on housing because we did the hard work of bringing the Housing Authority out of federal receivership. Because we launched our Housing for Resilient New Orleans plan, nearly 7,800 homes have been completed or in progress, and there is many more on the way. Thank you. Homelessness is down by 80%. And Dylan, thank you. We were the first city in America to functionally end homelessness for veterans in the streets of America, and we did it 1 year early. Thank you to our veterans. But we clearly have more work to do. So we're building a new low-barrier homeless shelter at the old VA hospital. And that is not the only long-envisioned project finally coming to fruition in this city. Susan the Lafitte Greenway, it's blowing and gone, thank you. And now housing, retail, bars, restaurants are popping up along the 3.1-mile linear park. The University Medical Center, the VA, the New Orleans Hospital, James, thank you, have opened in the past few years. And now there is a new biomedical corridor in the heart of New Orleans and a new asset in the east that can provide jobs for our residents and great healthcare security. We're redeveloping the World Trade Center for the new Four Seasons. A new blockbuster deal with the port and the public belt will open up a 3-mile contiguous stretch of the riverfront from Poland Avenue to the Spanish Plaza. And a new multi-million-dollar ferry terminal at the base of Canal Street on the river will soon break ground with 2 new, beautiful pedestrian ferries to boot. We are going to have the best front porch in America. By the way, we do already. That's just a secret. And plus, after decades of starts and stops, your new $1 billion airport is coming out of the ground as we speak. It will continue to be a major economic engine for this city and for the region for the future. And yes, after public debate, we took down 4 Confederate monuments that were put up years after the Civil War to revere the lost cause of the Confederacy. This was a very important step forward in our long road to bring everybody together to build the city that we always dreamed that we could be. All of these major initiatives and projects, some generations in the making, are actually happening as we speak. We are moving forward, not to mention another $1 billion in new city projects, from Rosenwald Center in Central City, to Gurn and Brown in Lakeview, to Lions Center uptown, to the Algiers Regional Library, Jackie, to the Tremay Center, just to name a few, and there are many more. And because we did the hard work renegotiating with FEMA over hurricane damage, we've also fixed, listen to me now, more streets in 7 years than any previous administration in the history of New Orleans. Over 133 miles of streets fixed, with work done on basically every major thoroughfare, an unprecedented $500 million worth of infrastructure investment. And here's the thing, there's more to come. Hold on to your hat, because we have planned and funded over $400 million in street repairs and infrastructure per year for the next 5 years. Oh yeah. It's going to take a little bit longer to get to work, but the wait will be worth it. We have rebuilt this city with a special focus on neighborhoods that have been hardest hit by the storm. That's why in 8 years, over $900 million has been invested in New Orleans East, $675 million more in Lower 9, for a total of $1.5 billion. We've already talked about the $143 million hospital in the East, but don't forget the tens of millions of dollars we spent on Joe Brown Park, the New Orleans East Library, the 7th District Police Station, Village de l'Est Playground. There's also the Sanchez Center in Lower 9, the Oliver Bush Playground, and the fire stations, number 10, number 22, number 31, number 36, and number 39. Not to mention the 8 new schools that cost $250 million. Not to mention all of the street repairs. You see, New Orleans is not New Orleans without the East and without Lower 9. Every one of the neighborhoods is important, and we need them, and they need us. And in 2018, as we celebrate our anniversary as a city of neighborhoods, we can look around, all of us, with pride, and we can say, yes, we are America's greatest comeback story. Yes, we are showing the way for the rest of the nation. Yes, we have changed for the better. Yes, we are truly creating the city we always dreamed that we could be. My friends, today it is undeniable that the next mayor and the next city council and the people of this city will take over a much more prepared and prosperous city than the one we inherited in 2010, a city with a much stronger foundation. And for the first time in generations, our beloved city has the tools that she needs to win the future. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exciting. But here's the thing. With our eyes wide open, let me be really clear. We are still not where we need to be. It is, as the Haitian proverb says, beyond every mountain, there is another mountain. More work, more sacrifices needed to address a number of our ongoing challenges in this city concerning jobs, concerning schools, concerning housing, concerning streets, concerning infrastructure, and so much more. And there is no doubt in my mind that together as a city we will continue to make great progress. There are solutions to all of these problems if we have the courage to lead. But all of those issues that I just talked to you about, all of them are dwarfed by 2 existential and immediate threats that are at our door and threaten our very future. The first, and we have to remember this and understand and know that our beloved city is a coastal city. We are, in fact, surrounded by water. The land that we live on is sinking. Our coast is eroding. The sea is rising. Weather patterns are changing rapidly and dramatically. In the wake of the federal government's pulling out of the Paris Agreement, cities now have to take the lead on climate change. And no other city in the world there is no other city in the world that has more at stake than the city of New Orleans. So tomorrow we will release our own climate action strategy, which includes 25 specific actions, thank you, that will cut emissions in half by 2030 while also creating new jobs for the future. However, in New Orleans, we need to go a step further, not only to address the global problem of climate change, but also the grave challenges of restoring our coast. Anything less would be a betrayal for future generations. The wetlands that provide New Orleans protection from the storm or define our food, our culture, and economy are disappearing faster than any place else in the world. It's happening now. But unfortunately, the debate over coastal restoration has presented us many false choices. We shouldn't have to choose between our homes, our land, and our jobs. If we drill, we have to conserve. If we drill, we have to restore, or else there will be nothing left for the future. This is simple. Kindergarten rules apply here. Fix what you break. Clean up what you mess up. And everything will be fine. But as threatening as the disappearing coast and climate change is to our city's long-term future, of course, the most difficult, the most immediate, and the most urgent issue we face is violent crime. There is no more important issue for us to totally rally around as a city. Now, when I was running for mayor in 2010, you may remember I said, I know what to do, and I know how to do it. And over the past 7 years, we together have done everything and more, every day, all day, to fight this urgent and growing threat of violent crime. The first thing we realized was that in order to be effective, we needed to improve the relationship between our police officers and the community, because trust, as our officers will tell you, is the most important thing. In the wake of Danziger and the Henry Glover murders and cover-ups, after a decade of dysfunction, the NOPD needed to build reform and to build trust. That is why we partnered with the Department of Justice on the most sweeping consent decree in our nation's history. We were one of the first ones in the nation to adopt body cameras. We created an early warning system that red flagged struggling officers. We instituted more and better training, not only for our recruits, but for all of our officers. And as we reformed the police department, we also invested heavily. In 2010, funding for NOPD is up since 2010 by over $30 million per year, every year. That is about a 25% increase. In 7 years, we have spent $2.25 billion on public safety and homeland security preparedness. We are aggressively recruiting, moving officers from behind desks to the streets, backfilling those spots with new civilians. Plus, new technology is helping NOPD. That means more crime cameras, more license plate readers to catch wanted criminals, enhanced lighting and enhanced analytics to improve deployment, which improves response times. Now, we all know that this work has been painful. This work has been tedious. This work has been expensive. But we are going to have a better department and a safer city in the long term because of it. And people are noticing the improvement. Public satisfaction with NOPD is way up, 33% in 2009 to 64% now, which is an all-time high. But at the same time, the people of New Orleans know, they know that NOPD alone cannot solve all of our problems, particularly with shootings and murder. I want you to listen to me now. Even in 1999, when murder was at its lowest rate in the last 30 years, and we had the most police officers ever on the streets, our rate was still 6 times higher than the national average. So we need to think about this, and we need to think about it holistically. We need to get at the root cause of these crimes. So that's why in 2012 we launched NOLA for Life, a truly comprehensive murder reduction strategy. NOLA for Life is built on the idea that we need to give our young people hope so that they do not feel forsaken, but also make sure they know that there are going to be serious consequences if they continue to make bad decisions and put themselves and us at risk. It includes a focus not just on intervention after the fact, but on interrupting the cycle of violence before the fact. As part of that, the NOLA for Life group violence reduction strategy combines local, state, and federal enforcement under one umbrella to give our young men in gangs and groups a clear choice. Either you stop the shooting and take our help, or you're going to have to go to jail. So with aggressive and smart enforcement, policing being carried on by our multi-agency gang unit, we've gotten 134 indictments from 15 different violent gangs and groups. And one of the most dangerous, the Young Melf Mafia, was just convicted and will go to jail for a long time. But it is just as important to get to the front end. And so we've done more than just invest in recreation. NOLA for Life has helped 32,000 New Orleanians get assistance, whether it's finding a job or returning home after being released from prison. As part of that, Ceasefire New Orleans has focused specifically on interrupting violence in Central City by mediating neighborhood beefs that threaten to turn violent. We've also launched a wildly successful midnight basketball program, which on Saturday nights has brought in off the streets 8,000 of our young people and spectators. And our health department is working with the Children's Bureau and other local partners, including our schools, to connect high-risk youth to caseworkers and counseling that can help them work through their often serious problems. NOLA for Life also recognizes that high crimes go hand in hand with low opportunity. So out of this basic truth, our economic opportunity strategy connects our young, unemployed men, ex-offenders, and others to training and then to work. But let's be honest, we're just beginning, and we need to do so much more, because here is the truth. If our young people don't have good opportunities, if there is no other pathway to real prosperity than crime and drugs, we will continue to be cursed with this same violence that this city of New Orleans has been cursed with for generations. In recent years, we've knocked down the percentage of African-American men not working from 52% to 44%. But to keep driving that down, we really need the whole system to change, social and economic. Another piece of the puzzle is criminal justice reform. The hangover from Jim Crow is a criminal justice system that disproportionately impacts people of color and the poor. Now there is a bipartisan national movement to reorient the system to focus on violent crime, moving away from jailing people for petty offenses, which breaks up families, destabilizes communities, and hurts more than it helps. For generations, we have had more people in prison in Louisiana than anywhere else in the free world, and we've typically had more crime in our state than anywhere else. Highest incarceration rate, highest violent crime rate. Something's not working. And with 63% of the city's $614 million general fund budget going to public safety and preparedness, it's costing us a fortune. Anybody can figure out that that's not sustainable. That is why all elected officials, and I mean all, need to get on the same page regarding criminal justice reform. This is about being tough on crime, and it's about being smart on crime. We can do both, and we are. We are nowhere close to where we want to be. But in 7 years, we have implemented a series of reforms dealing with the use of summons for nonviolent offenders, pretrial services, building a right-sized and constitutional jail, robust reentry services, and juvenile justice reform. So making the city safe is more than just getting tough. It's more than police, prisons, and guns. It's about improving schools. It's about investing in recreation. It's about investing in prevention. For example, last year in New Orleans, the opioid epidemic took more lives in the city of New Orleans than murder. It is one of the drivers behind the spike in crime. So in the coming weeks, we're going to lay out a strategy to deal with our part of what is obviously a national crisis. But here's the thing. I understand that long-term solutions are not enough. They're not enough for you. They're not enough for me. No one is happy with where we are. People are afraid, and I understand the impatience and the fear given the surge in trends in violent crime in the recent months. It is very disturbing, and it is totally unacceptable. One of the greatest lessons I have learned as mayor is that after so many decades of violence and dysfunctional, old patterns of behavior are hard to break, no matter how much you throw at it. The easy thing to do is to point fingers and to start blaming each other. Now, while the question of fault could go on forever, the question of responsibility can be resolved today. We're all responsible. There is no quick fix. There is no simple solution that can permanently improve everything, Judge. You know that. If there were, after 5 decades of high crime, somebody would have already figured it out, and we would have done it by now. So in the short term, we are going to double down, and we're going to fight back aggressively. And here is what we are going to do, and here's what we're doing. We are going to further up overtime in our most affected neighborhoods so there are more cops doing proactive, aggressive, constitutional policing, targeting drug dealers and violent criminals. We're also going to beef up our partnerships with other agencies that are already in the fight, from the universities to the U.S. Marshals to the state police to probation and parole and our federal partners. NOPD has also expanded the Tiger Armed Robbery Unit to focus on violence. And because of the great work by your NOPD, in June, with the help of the community, we made 125 arrests for serious crimes, from human trafficking to murder. We ended a string of 8 armed robberies and carjackings, arresting 9 people. When there was a quadruple shooting in the East, our detectives got to work and arrested the perpetrators right away. And last week, when 2 tourists were brutally assaulted in the French Quarter, it just took us 72 hours to find the 4 perpetrators. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, at nearly the same time, officers were making a separate arrest for the Gertown murder. And today, federal agents and NOPD officers tracked down, arrested, and indicted 2 people for the June murder of an armored truck driver during a robbery on Tulane Avenue. That is great work. And to the men and women of the NOPD, I want to applaud you. Thank you very much. Under the most difficult circumstances, NOPD is out there. They're working hard all day, every day, putting their lives on the line. You see, but more needs to be done to hire more police and retain our current officers long term. Yes, it is true that during the NOPD reform process, we lost a lot of officers, and to avoid bankruptcy, we paused hiring for 18 months. But we began hiring in 2012, and for the last 5 years have done so aggressively. By 2018, we will have graduated 14 recruit classes, adding nearly 400 new officers to our force. We have already raised pay for officers by 15%, have invested over $100 million for public safety facilities, including new police stations. We're also buying 300 new take-home cars for police officers, which is going to raise their morale and increase their visibility throughout the city. We will also buy 300 new long guns so that we can be fully prepared for a terrorist attack or an active shooter, God forbid. The bottom line is, now the whole department is better paid, better trained, better managed, and far better equipped. And we will continue to invest. Yesterday, I announced a new proposal to give another across-the-board pay bump to police officers. We're asking civil service and the city council to improve targeted raises for patrol officers, 10% raises for new officers, and a 15% increase for sergeants, and nearly 20% more for lieutenants. This is about turbocharging recruitment and retaining our veteran officers. We're also proposing a long overdue change to how patrol officer rankings work and how detectives get promoted. Indeed, for too long, to get more pay or higher rank, detectives had to leave their unit. We needed to change that so detectives can stay doing the work they love and still advance their career, while we as a city get to keep our seasoned investigators doing what they do best. But here is the truth about making New Orleans safe and growing the department. Even as we do everything we can to boost morale and to attract more officers, if the people of New Orleans want more police, we need less talk and we need more action. We need our best and bravest in the city to go join NOPD.com and fill out an application. Our citizens, we need to show up, step up to the plate, become a police officer, respond to the call for duty. Your city needs you. Violent crime traumatizes not only immediate victims, but the entire community as well, both young and old alike. It hurts us. It scares us. It causes us to fear one another. And although we have suffered with one of the highest crime rates in the nations for generations, this need not be our destiny. It can be changed. It can be fixed. We must change. And it's going to take every one of us, because this time, you see, The enemy is not overseas. It's not the Syrian refugee. It's not the undocumented immigrant, the murderer, the carjacker, the robber, the drug dealer, the drug overdoser. These are our sons and daughters. They're our brothers and their sisters. They're even our mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles. They're our neighbors. They live here with us. It was not a stranger who one day in 2012 shot up a kid's birthday party, killing 5-year-old Breonna Allen, whose picture sits on my desk in my office, or Shawana Pierce. It wasn't an outsider who shot and killed 2-year-old Jeremy Gauman in 2010. It wasn't some mysterious perpetrator who last week led state police on a high-speed race that resulted in 3 deaths, including a 2-year-old. We know these individuals. This starts in the home. Parents, relatives, friends, pastors. We have to fight to get our streets back. The young perpetrators are known to us. They're putting everybody and themselves in harm's way. And it's always after the fact that we suddenly snap to attention instead of swinging into action now. Maybe we can prevent the next terrible death if we can get in front of it. It's time that we take responsibility for those doing wrong and say enough. Don't listen to me. One of the most powerful groups that should never be asked that have stepped forward to deliver this message is the mothers who have lost sons and daughters to gun violence. They have meant so much to our work around murder reduction. This group of incredible, strong women who have a hole that's so big in the soul they can't repair it, not only share their stories of tragedy and loss, but also the promise of what we can be if we replace the shooting with peace. One mother this weekend at Essence recently called on every mother, every father, every grandparent and relative to take real responsibility for our children, to call out bad behavior when it's happening, and to take a stand against actions and activities you may see that could lead to negative outcomes for their children and everyone else's children. This is sound advice from those who are as close to this issue as anyone can be. And if it is followed, and if we continue as a city to invest in opportunities for those most challenged, we will continue to mount the best possible fight to end the culture of violence and to create the city of peace that we all want. Otherwise, we will struggle to make progress on this problem that has been with us for a very, very, very long time. This runs deep. It is real. But the question is, are you, the people of New Orleans, ready and willing to do what is necessary? To do as President Kennedy said, pay any price, bear any burden. Where there is no justice, there is no peace. We have to become a just city if we want to become a peaceful city. I want you to think about that. I don't want anybody to get angry or upset. I just want you to think about it. Where there is no justice, there is no peace. In closing, let me say that this fall's elections are really one of the most important in our lifetime. And so I will be fully engaged and very active, ready not only to sprint through the finish line of our own term, but also to speak the truth about the challenges that we face and what should come next. We have fixed a lot. Our city is headed in the right direction. Our foundation is really strong for the future, but make no mistake about it, there is hard work that remains to be done. If there were a simple, readily available solution to our complicated problems, we would have already done it. And I would remind all the candidates of something that I hope that they already know, that the people of New Orleans are really smart. I hear you. They know this city. They know what needs to be done. The what, you see, is the easy part. What we need to hear the new candidates tell us is how they plan to take on these difficult challenges, how they're going to do what they say they're going to do, how they're going to pay for it, how long it's going to take to get done, how's it going to look when it's finished. That means details, not sound bites. After 7 years of hard work, we are now reaping the benefits of some of the foundational changes that we have made. We have brain gain, top places for millennials, one of the most improved places for business, Silicon Valley on the Bayou, $8 billion in new investment, 20,000 new jobs, record numbers of visitors, record tonnage at the port, record public investment, record high property values, and I could go on. But our challenge for the next year and beyond is to continue the progress, build on this strong foundation, go forward and not backward. So as we come to a close, let me say that it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your mayor. Always remember that together, we are the ones that rebuilt this broken city. Together, we have laid a solid foundation for the future and are now positioned for growth like never before. Together, we were the ones who came back strong when no one thought we could. Promises made, promises kept. Our feet may be weary, but our soul is strong. The way we end is the way we started is the way we ended, strong. We are one team, we are one fight, we are one voice, we are one city, taking one step at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is ours for the taking. Our best days are ahead of us. So let's get back to work. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you for joining us for the 2017 State of the City Address.